This N8N beginner guide is not a normal one because we are going from the local setup of N8N using Docker to the production setup of using N8N again with the Docker but on the Hetzner server with a nice domain. We are going to create a workflow which uses AI agent, MCP server, a strong model, a chat, then memory. All of these things going to have a search over the internet, and this is fantastic. You will going to learn all of these things in this video. So check this out till the end because so much learning is there which is going to make your automation really amazing. Get started with N8N. First, let's go on the Google and search for N8N. That's pretty simple thing, you already know. But the first website comes is the N8N.io. Now, click on this, and first of all, since we are going to use the self-hosting N8N, what that self-hosting is, I'm going to tell you. We want to go into this documentation. So I'm going to press Command and click on this so that it will open in a new tab like this. But let's go and understand first what is self-hosting mean. So see, this N8N is actually not at all free. So if you go on the pricing setup, it has $20 build. But this is only when you use their cloud service. That means you just pay them, sign in, and you have a N8N where you can do a lot of things. But they also have a self-hosting feature. That means you can use N8N, which is openly available, and install it on your server, which we are going to do. So let's go on this self-hosting part. And first of all, we will go to the Docker setup because that is really powerful, secure, and easy. You can also go with the NPM, which I don't like because NPM is not that secure. So let's go with the Docker. And the first thing you need to do is having a Docker, not this command. Okay, so if you don't have the Docker, just search for the Docker and then install this Docker desktop. This one software is going to have the Docker in your system, whether you're having a Mac Apple Silicon, Mac Intel, Windows or Linux. Everywhere Docker is available. Once you have that, that means if you open your terminal, by the way, I'm going to use warp. It is really powerful. You can also use the terminal, or if you're on Windows, you can use CMD. Anyways, so here, once you have the Docker installed, then if you go and see Docker version, you will get that. Cool. Once you have the Docker, we can get back to the N8N self-hosting documentation. On this, yes, first of all, we need to create a volume. Now, don't worry if you don't know what volume is, how Docker works, just follow the instruction because it is damn easy. Let's run this and it's going to create a volume. Again, if you don't understand these things, don't worry, it's very simple. Now, let's run the next command. And at this point, if I run this command, it's going to first download the image if you don't have, but if you do have the image, it's going to create a new container for your N8N instance, and then we will have the N8N ready. Cool, very nice. You can see now we have N8N ready on the localhost 5678. We can press O or we can just hit and see this N8N sign up page. Since this is the first time, I need to set up these things. Although it's local, but still we need to provide the detail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say bitfumes@gmail.com. You can pass anything, it's just local, it doesn't do anything. So I will provide that name and I say secret123. Now I just say okay, so it says secret123 is not here, so secret@123. How about this? With this we need to have the S capital for the secret and then @123. Is this good? Yeah, done. So now click next. This is going to create a new account for you on your local N8N. Now I don't want to do anything, just say get started, click on skip, and we are having our N8N running locally on our localhost 5678. That's so powerful. Now what next? Now we need to understand how we can create a powerful workflow which is going to talk with the internet, having an MCP server, an AI agent, a powerful model, and a chat system. With the memory, So let's see how we can do that. Before that, let's explore the overview and the page here we have on the N8N. So on the top, you can see create workflow, but we do have the drop down. So if I click, we can create the credentials. What the credentials is, let's say we are going to add the OpenAI, and for that we need the key. So we can create a credential where we put the key and call it OpenAI, and then whenever we want, we can reuse that same key. That's really, again, very useful feature. Then we have this 3 tabs. So workflow, credential, execution. Now workflow is the workflow we are going to create. So you will going to understand. Credentials, I told you how you can add the keys or secrets. And execution is whenever the workflow runs, all that execution will be here. So we will see that very soon. Now on the left side, we have a lot of amazing things, but we need to focus on start from scratch. So click there. This is a workflow setup page. Here, you can just press command and have the scroll to zoom in and zoom out. This is really powerful once again. And once you have that, then you can get started by adding first setup. Or you can add here on this, you can add different nodes. Every node is doing something in N8N. We will talk about that later. Or you can just press tab. So if you hit tab, the sidebar opens where you can search for the node. But here, since we have not yet started our workflow, we need a trigger node. So trigger node is actually going to start a workflow or kick the workflow. So first of all, I'm going to use the chat one. So chat trigger. So see, it says chat and then trigger. And there is a lightning icon which defines it's a trigger. So once we add it, we have this kind of setup. So here we say this is a start workflow chat. Okay, and then once we have that, we can test it out. And once we click on test, you can see we have a chat text box where we can say anything. So if I say hi and hit enter, you can suddenly see we have this node execution successfully. Once again, if I say hello, hit enter, you can see again the node successfully ran. So this node successfully ran. So if I now double click on it, we can see the output of the node which is on the right side. So see, output is something like this. We can show the output in 3 different forms like JSON, table. So this is a tabular form which is like pathetic. I don't like. And then a schema where we have different keys and their values. Cool. Once we have this, that means we can trigger the workflow. Then what we want to do next. So next means once it is done, then what to do next? I need to add an AI agent. Once again, I can click on this plus icon. I can click on this plus icon, or I can just press tab. But when you add tab, it's not directly going to connect. So what you do is when you click on plus sign, you will search for AI agent, and when you hit enter or select this AI agent, I can go back to the canvas. You can see is nicely connected to our node where we just pressed the plus icon. Okay, once again, to configure this AI agent, let's double click. Now, whenever you have a previous node for a new node, like this AI agent as a node, chat trigger was a node, so the previous result is shown on the left side. Here we have the node settings, and right side we have the node output. But why we don't have the input on the chat trigger? Because chat trigger was the first one, so it doesn't have any previous node. So we have this node, we have the output. Now we can click on the next node, which is AI agent. Then we have the previous node output. Then we have the node setting, and then we have the output of the node. Cool? Understand? Okay, let's move forward. So here on the AI agent, we can set up our own prompt. What we are going to do, we can say, hey, you are a helpful AI agent. That's it. That's very simple thing. Now, if I hit on test setup, this will not able to do anything because this AI agent need a AI model or the LLM model. So let's go back to the canvas. Here, if you notice, this AI agent can have chat model, can have memory, can have tool. For now, I'm going to add the chat model directly from this plus icon. And remember, whenever you hit the press icon on any node, whatever you add will directly connect it. So I click on this plus icon and I'm going to search for OpenAI. Now, once we hit enter, let's go back. You can see it's again connected to the AI agent as a chatbot. You see this red triangle which says that there is some issue with our node. So let's double click and first we can see we don't have the OpenAI API key. Okay, so let's add it. How do we add? Let's click on there. It says create new credential. Remember, credentials are saved once and can be used multiple places on multiple workflow. So we need to add the OpenAI key. So search for OpenAI and go to the billing overview section, API keys. Here, I will click on create new API key. I'm going to name it N8N beginner, choosing the project as tutorial, create the key. Once it is done, I'm going to copy that and paste it here. Okay, that's setup is done. Once you click on save, this is going to test your API key. And if the connection is successful, you get the green. But what if I have something else? And if I try to save it, you will see the red which says connection cannot establish. So this is powerful feature of N8N which is validating the credential you are storing. Okay, once done, then we can choose the model from the different list of the model. I will stick with the 4O mini which is really nice, for fast and small. Okay, we can go to the agent by click on the back to canvas, or we can just click on this icon which is saying AI agent. Now click on this, we are back to the agent. Remember, we have this agent, we double click and see we still have a triangle, red triangle. That means this node, the AI agent node, is still having some problem. So how we fix it? We have already fixed it by adding a chat model. That was the problem. Now let's hit test setup. Okay, once we hit the test setup, we can see we have the output. Now instead of getting the log, let's click on output and it says thank you, I am here to assist you, how can I help you? So this means the AI agent is successfully connected to the OpenAI model. But at this level, it doesn't do anything. Whatever we ask, it just say thank you. So what if I ask, what is the capital of France? Now, if I ask this, it will going to still give me the same answer. Thank you, I'm your assistant. Why is that? Because we need to put the question we ask on the chat input into the AI agent. So here we have this, and then after that, I can drag this chat input directly on the prompt like this. So see, it is now getting this, and what is the capital of France come here. So if I now write it again, so let's say what is the capital of France. At this time, we get the output of capital of France is Paris. Okay, so we get the answer as Paris. Now, what if I ask what is the population of this city? What is the population of this city? It doesn't going to answer well because it don't know the previous input. So now it says, hey, which city you are talking about? So basically it should give us the answer for the Paris. For that we need to provide the memory here. So I'm going to use the simple memory, and once we have this, now let's start it again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just save it by pressing Command C, Command S, or just press here the save button. So like this. And now I'm going to start it by refreshing the page and start this workflow again. And now let's ask once again, what is the capital of France? And this time it's giving answer. Now what is the population of this city? And this time it should give us the exact answer in a nice manner, which is now saying the Paris population is 2.1 million people. Cool. So this is how we add the memory to our conversation with the AI agent. Next, what we have to do, we need to do a Google search. Now, to have the Google search, what we can do, we can add a search. Now, this search tool is really amazing. So we can just have and add the credential. Now, if you don't know how to add the credential, N8N has the docs. So open the docs here. Cool. It says you need to create an account here on the SERP AI. So click on register, sign in with GitHub. Once we have that, then choose the free plan. Now it's asking to verify the phone. Now, once you complete the phone verification, then once again hit the subscribe and finish this. Cool, we are in. Now we need to use this private key. So we can just copy this private key, go to the N8N, paste this, click on save, and you can see it's verified. Whoa, it's now done. And what next? We can just ask something which should be the latest one. So what is the latest news today on AI? So if I do this, it's going to search on the SERP API, get the result, converting the result into the natural language, and once we have that, we will going to get the result. And you can see we have the nice result coming here in a nice form. You can also double click on the AI agent to see what is the exact output, which is something like this in a JSON. Cool, that's really great. But you know what? Instead of having SERP AI, what if you want to have some different search thing? Let's say you want to add some Brave search, or let's say you want to search on your Google Drive. Then instead of adding a lot of tool inside this, we can create our own MCP server. Now, before adding the MCP server, what I'm going to do is let's move all these N8N into the Hetzner server as a production one, and then on that production we're going to add the MCP server. So stay tuned, because this is again a very nice thing. So to move this into Hetzner server, once again I will go to the self-hosting guide of this N8N. Then on this we just need to click on this server setups. Here we can choose Hetzner Cloud, and then we can get started with this. So first of all, we need to create a new server on our Hetzner, and then after that we need to run these commands and get the thing going. So let's go to the Hetzner, and here first of all I will go to the cloud, and then on the project I'm going to use the tutorial one and create new resource called server. I'm going to use the Helsinki, then Ubuntu, the latest one, and the shared CPU. And what it says, maybe we can directly use an image with Docker CE. Yes, so instead of using the Ubuntu one, let's go on the app and select the Docker CE, which means the server we are going to create will going to already have the Docker installed. We don't have to manage that. So shared one, and choose the 4 GB. This is the one which I really like. Then I need to add an SSH key. So let's first create the SSH key here. So SSH keygen, and I want to create the key at this location exactly same. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and call it ID underscore N8N. And everything will be just like empty. List out, yes, we have these two. So we want to cat, and this should be SSH/ID underscore N8N dot public. Public one we need. So let's copy this SSH key from here, paste it here, and I'm going to name it N8N key. Okay, let's add it, and after that we don't need volume, no firewall, no backup, nothing else. But at the last I just say N8N tutorial and click on create and buy now. So while this is creating the server, let's see what we need to do next. Next, actually we need to run this composer command, and before that we need to upgrade it and do a lot of things. So let's wait for this to complete. Okay, so the server is created. Let's copy this IP address and say SSH root IP address. But you know what? Since we are using a specific SSH key, we need to provide -i and then the path of that SSH key, the private one. So ID underscore N8N, not PUB. We are not using that PUB. Okay, once it is done, then we will be able to log into our server. That's great. Now, next thing is we need to run this command. Let's go hit this command. Once this is done, then what we need to do, we need to clone this Git repository so that we can run the server with the N8N. Now this is completed. So what we have to do, we need to clone the repository, which we have N8N Docker Caddy. Caddy is just like an Nginx you can use to create the server. And once that, we need to get into the Caddy. And once we are here, let's list out the things we have directly. You can see we have a Caddy configuration, Docker Compose, which we really want. Then we have a git.env, local files, and amazing other things. Okay, good. What next? First of all, we need to create the Docker volume. Remember, we have also created the Docker volume on my local, but since we are on the server, we need to do the same here. So let's run this, create the Caddy data, and now we have the volume. You can check also Docker volume ls, and we are having Caddy data volume. Now once we have the data, then we need to open the port so that it will communicate to the server. So we can just hit these two, and yeah, it is there. Sudo ufw status. Now once we see status, it says inactive. We can simply enable it by running this command, but now it says if you don't have the SSH allow, then next time you will not be able to allow or log in through SSH key. So what we have to do, we need to actually add rule for SSH. How do we do that? Let's ask warp how to add rule to ufw on Ubuntu for SSH. I really like warp because of this thing. For very quick things, I can just simply have a chat with the AI. So this is the command which we need to run. So we can simply run this. Now it's allowed for the SSH key also, and then we can simply enable it, and I can say yes, and good, it is enabled. Now let's check the status, and yep, we have a status for everything is here. Now let's try to SSH once again and see whether we will be able to log in or not. And yeah, we can log in. So everything is good. Now let's move to the next step on our N8N. Now once we have that, then we need to configure N8N by editing the .env file. Remember, we do have the .env file here, this one, okay, this one, and we have to use the vim to open this .env, and here you can provide the data folder. Now data folder can be anything, and I'm going to call it /n8n docker caddy. So replace with the path where you created folder earlier. Where we have created at this moment also. Okay, if you are not sure, you can just say print working directory like this, and it's on the root and this thing. Okay, same thing. So let's now move to the next part. What it says, domain. Okay, that's cool. Now we need to add a domain. So what domain we can add? I'm going to add n8n.bitfumes.com. We need to configure the domain also. We will going to do that very soon. So domain name is actually bitfumes.com, and the subdomain we are having is N8N, and everything is good. We can have the SSL email if you want, but everything is good for me. Now what next? Finally, we need to check for the docker compose file. So we say docker compose.yaml, and here we have a lot of configuration we can do. Once again, if you don't know Docker, leave everything as it is. Okay, get back here, and then what we need to do, we need to finally configure the caddy file, which is again the server. Here we need to provide the domain and the suffix. So let's do that, n8n.bitfumes.com, and everything is good. Once we are done with that, final step is to have this docker compose up. But before that, what we need to do, we need to configure our domain. How do we configure that domain? So maybe something is here. Yeah. So create a record on this. It should be a record for subdomain and use the IP address. Click on add a record for N8N. IP address is, where's the IP address? I copied it previously. Yep, here we are. So I'm going to say comment N8N tutorial. Save this, and this is added. Cool. Now final step is run the docker compose up -d. Again, if you don't know all these things what it is, just leave it as it is, because very soon we will going to have our N8N ready on the production. Okay, so we get some kind of error, so maybe I can just check the documentation. So here at top we can see we have to create, okay, we forgot to create the N8N data docker volume. Okay, so once again let's create that too, and yep, that's done. Finally, let's run it up, and yeah, it's running and it's up. Cool. So we can check docker ps and it's up and running. Let's try our n8n.bitfumes.com, and if everything is right, we should have the N8N here. Wow, N8N is there. So let's say bitfumes at gmail.com, Sarthak Shrivastava, and password is secret@123. And this is, I don't want any update. Similar to the local setup, I have everything just like that. And what we need to do next? Now we need to copy all the workflow we have here and move to the production one. How do we copy? Select everything, hit Ctrl C, go create a new workflow. On this canvas, we can just simply say paste, and you can see everything is here. Now we have some issues, and these issues are for the configuration, the credentials. Okay, so we can just go here and add the API key. I think API key is from like this. Okay, that's good. API key is added for the OpenAI. That's nice. Now SERP API. SERP API is something here which we can move and add it. Cool, cool. And that's done. Click on save. It's added. Cool. Everything is good. Now let's make it active. And this means it's active. I can open the chat. I can say, what is the temperature in Indore city? Let's see the answer. And yeah, we are getting this. Give me in Celsius. I don't know if the spelling is Celsius right, but yeah, let's see. Okay, 27 degrees Celsius. Great. So this is good, but remember we have to make our own MCP server. Okay, that's interesting. How do we do that? So I will call this workflow as chat, and now I'm going to create another workflow, and this workflow I will call MCP. Here on the trigger one, I will say MCP trigger. So this is going to be the trigger, and this MCP server we are going to use. So this is just a production URL. I can copy this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it active. So when it is active, then we can use the production one. Otherwise, we can use the test one. As a tool, I'm going to use the SERP API, and we know everything is connected here. Okay, that's good. Now let's open the main chat workflow. Instead of adding the SERP API as a tool, I'm going to add the MCP client tool here. So like this, and the SSE endpoint is exactly this production URL for our MCP we have created. That's good. And if everything is fine, then we should see, if I click on selected, we should see, yes, we have a search tool which is available on our MCP server. What if I add the Google Drive? So if I add the Google Drive, let's say if I have added, although it's not configured yet, I can just go and try to see how many. Yep, now we have the Google Drive tool. Okay, I don't want to use Google Drive, but right now it's good. Let's try to see if everything is working or not. What is the temperature in New York? Okay, let's see. This time it's going to use the MCP server, which is having a tool for search, and now it searched and gave us the result. That's powerful. And everything is happening on the server. This is a great workflow which you can use. Create your own MCP, add as many tools as you want to this MCP server, and create something interesting that will automate your life. Now, if you have any question related to N8N, MCP, AI agent, let me know in the comment section, or you can email me on sarthak@bitfumes.com. So see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.